Well, my little buddy, don't you roll so slow. I cannot roll when the wheels don't go.
Welcome to This is Bluegrass. Good afternoon on this Saturday, July the 25th of 2026. Daniel B. here to host today's event. G4V Cav Arts is proud to bring this event featuring our very own G4V Cav Arts cyber instructor and instrument builder, Danny Smith. He's the hillbilly looking guy up there. Danny, retired Army Master Sergeant, has graduated several veterans so far from the G4V Cyber Chapter guitar program. Also, Danny has built his own mandolins, guitars, and recently a classic dobro. If you wish to hear and see Danny playing those instruments, go to his YouTube channel, Danny Smith Music. Get ready to challenge yourselves, y'all. Soloing is an art. Believe me, I know from experience. I spent many hours perfecting my own style, and bluegrass was my first go-to to learn. And I went from there into hard rock, which is demanding in its own right. Danny will be giving us lessons for learning how to solo to bluegrass standards. And of course, after each one, those that are in attendance, we will be taking questions at the end of the lesson and having ourselves a little discussion. So my interests are really piqued. Danny, what do you have for us today?
All right. Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about rhythm, G-runs, and how to come up with a solo using what you know. And I'm going to throw a couple ideas out there with some songs. The cool thing about bluegrass is a lot of the songs, just like any kind of music, a lot of the songs have the same structure, 1, 4, 5. Sometimes they'll use a 6 minor. Sometimes they'll use a 2 minor. Sometimes they'll use a 6 major. And so there's a lot of things that you can hear when you listen, and then how to take what you know and apply it to come up with a solo. But the biggest thing about bluegrass, and we talked about this in our very first bluegrass session when we went over rhythm, the boom chuck rhythm, 95 to 99% of the time in a bluegrass jam, you were going to play rhythm. And if you have 10 people in that jam and you're going around and between every chorus and verse, between every verse and chorus, 1, 2, maybe 3 people take a solo. By the time it gets around to you and you take your solo, you've played the vast majority of that song. You played rhythm, and playing rhythm is more than just strumming chord. While that's great, when you're with a group of people and everybody starts doing that, it becomes a cacophony of noise. And so what we want to be able to do is make our rhythm tasteful. And the way to make rhythm tasteful is to understand the boom chuck rhythm. And the boom chuck rhythm actually supports the bass player as well as the mandolin player. The mandolin player usually has that chop, and they're on the offbeat, where the bass player is on is right on the beat, dong 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 dong, playing that song, and the mandolin player, dong ch dong ch dong ch dong ch, and so you have this bass snare sound throughout the song. Well, the guitar player, what they need to be able to do is to blend in there with a nice rhythm, with a nice strum. And so before we move into working out some solos using some basic ideas, some fundamental ideas, we're going to talk about the boom chuck rhythm, but making it more than just that boom chuck, boom chuck. So you can really add a lot to your boom chuck. So that becomes a boom, boom chuck, booma chucka. And one rhythm that I like to use a lot is so I got a boom chucka, and then when I hit my 5, that open D chord, or that open D note, I'm gonna do that's where I'm gonna do my chucka. So boom chucka, boom chucka, boom. And you could get a really nice, strong rhythm with that. And what that does is that adds drive to the song. So if I'm playing a song like, let's say something like the 9-Pound Hammer. 9-Pound Hammer is a pretty simple song. Oh, the 9-pound hammer is a little too heavy for my side, for my side. So that's just a standard boom chuck, boom chuck, boom chuck. Now, if I wanted to add some drive to it and keep the same speed, the same tempo, oh, the 9-pound hammer is a little too heavy for my side, for my side. Here I would add, it makes me feel like I'm going faster, but I'm actually not. And it's a little, for me, it's a little hard to sing and play that booma chucka rhythm. So when I'm singing, I usually get really simple. But when I'm not leading the song and I'm not singing the song, I want my rhythm to help the drive that the banjo is putting into the song. And so let's talk about this booma chucka rhythm and how you would work that through chord changes. So with your boom chucka, booma chucka, I guess that's the best way to call it. We're doing a down, a boom on the 1, which is the G note. And then I'm strumming my bottom 3, bottom 4 strings. And that's my boom chucka. And then when I hit my 5, that open D chord, that open D note, I'm going to hit that as my down. And then I got a up, down, up, and that sets me up to go right back to my boom on that open, or that G note at the top. And so really, if you get, we've talked about alternate picking over the last five sessions, and that alternate picking is really important, especially in bluegrass music. Alternate picking is where you need to be. And so if you want to play bluegrass, I suggest some simple exercises, and it can start with just a down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And then now if you hear what I'm doing, I'm going down, and I'm missing my upstroke. Down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And so I'm creating my own strum patterns just by moving my hand and choosing when to hit the strings. And that, when you take that exercise and you put it into your boom chuck rhythm, I'm just keeping my rhythm going the entire time and choosing when I'm going to hit my strings. And so if you take this G chord and you use that up-down motion, that alternate picking motion, you should be able to come out with that. And you see how I've not changed anything with my strum hand other than when I choose to hit the strings. So if you got your guitar with you, let's go through that. We're going to go through a couple measures of just the G chord, and then we're going to talk about walking to the next chord. So we'll start off. I'll count it. We'll do it fairly slow. We're going to do a boom, chukka, boom, a chukka. So boom on your G note, and then a boom, a chukka off of your D note, that 5 of the scale. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. Boom, chukka, boom, a chukka, boom, chukka, boom, a chukka, boom, chukka, boom, a chukka. All right. Does everybody feel confident with that? That it's a fairly simple rhythm, but you can simplify it by keeping it just a boom chukka, boom a chukka, or you can add a little bit of a cross picking element to it. So instead of going, I'm doing my up down up, I'm going to do a little pick through the string. So individual strings. Boom a chukka boom, chukka boom a chukka boom, chukka boom a chukka. And so how we narrow down this wide open strum to the single strings is another little exercise that I really like. And if I take and just go to my G string, and I'm just doing a down, up, down, up. And I'm going to try to really control my hand, get a little bit of twist in my wrist, and I got a little bit of movement in my arm and a little bit of movement in my wrist. And if you notice what I'm doing, my hand, as it's going up and down, I'm escaping the string below and above with each rotation of the wrist. Now, where you hold your hand and how you hold your hand, there's a couple schools of thought in bluegrass. In other forms of music, everybody does it a little different. Some people put their fingers down. Some people put their palm right on the bridge. In bluegrass, there's two options that I see most commonly done, and you could do it however you want. But when you look at these top bluegrass flat pickers, they're doing one of two things. They're either with a closed fist, it's a relaxed fist. You're not tight, you're not gripping the pick. It's a closed fist, and this part of the hand is rubbing along the bridge pins of the guitar. And when you're playing rhythm, it's more floating than anything. And so getting that control of what string you're hitting is going to come down to practice. The more you practice, the better you're going to get at where you put your pick to hit your strings. But a good exercise to get those individual strings is this G string exercise. It's just a single string exercise, and you'd want to play it with your metronome. Set your metronome to start right around 60 beats a minute, and start off with quarter notes, then eighth notes, and then 16th notes. So your count on that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and so get used to counting that. If you don't count in your practice, if you're not counting, you're doing yourself a disservice, because counting is going to help you stay on the beat. And one of the most important things as a rhythm player is to be able to play in time. So you need to know where the 1 is, where the 3 is, so you can have your booms. And you need to know where the 2 and the 4 is, so you can have your strums. Does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody have any questions about where I'm at so far?
So when you've got your palm sitting there on your bridge pins, is it just kind of brushing it lightly, or you just kind of like anchor your palm there?
It's just brushing.
Just
And
brushing.
right. And Kurt, so for me, I'm trying to get my hand closed a little bit, but I don't know if you notice, I've got my fingers open a little bit, and I rub along my pick guard, and I do that. That's another one of the what you'll see. If you look at, there's two different guitar players I would tell you to look at online: Brian Sutton and Jake Workman, and they both of those guys have the style that I'm talking about. Jake Workman has the closed fist, palm rubbing along the bridge pinch, just barely touching. And when he's strumming, he's open and floating. And when he's picking, he is moving along. And I'll tell you, Jake Workman is probably one of the fastest guitar players that I've seen in bluegrass music. If you look online, look up Jake Workman, Rawhide with Ricky Skaggs, and they're playing Rawhide. I want to say it's at 183 beats a minute, and that's straight time. So 183 beats a minute, 16th notes.
Oh,
it is incredibly fast, and he doesn't miss a note, and it's amazing. So look, when you get a chance, look up Jake Workman, Rawhide. It's at the Grand Ole Opry when Ricky Skaggs had his induction into the Grand Ole Opry Hall of Fame. And then look up Brian Sutton. So Brian Sutton has that more of the fingers touching the pick guard. Now, I'm not telling you to change your style. That's not what this is about. I'm just telling you what you'll see a lot of these top guitarists do. And the reason it works, they have a really good reason to explain it. The alternate picking is probably the most important when it comes to bluegrass flat picking. And I can only think of one person in all of bluegrass flat picking that broke those rules and did it successfully and very well, and that was Tony Rice. He did a lot of down, down, up. So I don't know if you would call it economy picking, but he had a little bit of style where he would do the down, down, up. And I think it came because he was a follower of Clarence Rice, or Clarence White, who was one of the original bluegrass flat pickers and went on to with the Byrds before he was killed. And it's just a style that you'll see a lot of electric guitar players use, would be the economy picking, but you won't see it a lot in bluegrass music. So back to our rhythm. When we're in our G chord, and our next chord is either going to be the 4 or the 5. Did you have a question, Kurt? No? Okay. So when we go to that 4, we just use the pentatonic scale with a little bit of a blues note, so a flat third. So I'm just walking up, and depending on how many notes you start early before you get to your C chord will depend on what you can use. You can do, let me do that a little better. So there was a 2-note walk up. And now I'm right into so I got 1, 2, and there's my chord. If I start one beat early, there I started 2 beats early, and I did a little syncopation, if you heard that. And so playing in time and learning to count will help you greatly in understanding what you can do moving from chord to chord. And you have all of these notes, or you even have these notes. So I'm in that C pentatonic or the C blues scale, and I'm just walking down to it as opposed to walking up to it. And then when I walk to my D, I use the same thing. And right back to my G. And I'm just using 2 notes out of the scale before I get to my next note. So can everybody hear that? Does everybody understand what I'm doing here? I'm just walking up that scale, and I'm using my G scale to get to my next note. And it's a small chromatic walk. It's a simple walk, but it's an effective walk. And so doing that is a simple way to get from one chord to the next. But then when you come back, what you'll hear in bluegrass a lot is the G run. And the G run is that finishing mark on, I just finished this measure of music and we're getting ready to move on to the next part. So when I'm coming out of my 5 chord, I can be coming out of my 4 chord, whatever chord I'm coming out of, and coming back to my 1 at the end of a measure, say at the end of the verse, at the end of the chorus, I can throw in a G run. And a G run is simple. The G run is the blues scale. 1, 2, flat 3, 3, and then I'm right to my 5, 6, 1. That's my blues scale. It's my pentatonic scale with the flat third added. And and I'm going to show you today, I got some tab that I'm going to pull up. I can show you today, there are many iterations of the G run. And once you understand what the point of the G run is, it's that statement to get to your root. And so you're just giving a bum-ba-bum. It's just kind of that fill that the drummer does at the end. The bass player, whatever, everybody's got their little thing. And if you listen, I think it's Sunshine of Your Love. Is it, what's that song? I can't remember how it goes, but it's a Cream song. And there it is. Isn't that a G run backwards? It's pretty close. It's the same notes. And so you can use that G run to make a statement at the end of your measure. And so that was a little syncopated G run. And so what I'm going to do right now is everybody good on the rhythm? Everybody's understanding that boom, chukka, boom, a chukka, boom, chukka, boom, a chukka. And what you can do with that. And you can look back and you can see what I was talking about with that cross picking. All I'm doing is I'm just playing each note of my bottom 4 strings of my chord individually with an alternate picking. And that's why we narrowed down that single string exercise. And you can open that up to 2 strings. You can open that up to 3 strings. 3 strings would be literally cross picking. Does everybody see what I'm doing there with that cross picking? I'm going down, up, down, skipping back up to the top with an upstroke, down, up on the bottom string, skipping back up with a downstroke, and then I'm going to hit either one or the one below it with an upstroke before I start over. That gives me 8 individual notes, and so there's 2 measures, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, and that's going to give me my 8 notes for my 2 bars, 2 measures. And so that's how cross picking works out. It's a 3-note pattern. It could be a 4-note pattern. With the 4-note pattern, you're obviously going to do 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. But if you're using that 3-note pattern, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, and then you're right back to the start. So you could practice that with just your open D, your open G, and your open B, and that would be a G chord. And that's a good way to practice your cross picking. You could do it with a C using a triad here. And great way, it's a great thing to do for pick and accuracy, is just a simple three note pattern cross picking exercise, making sure you're doing it in groups of 8. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and then you start over. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Gives you 8 beats. Questions on that? All right, let's talk about the G run. So the G run, really good. Now understand this. The G run is not specifically meant for a G chord. It's called a G run because it's played on the G chord, which is usually the chord that we're using in bluegrass, because we usually capo as guitar players. But a G run can also be a C run. It can also be a D run. You could do it in E and A. I don't do that much, but I use the C run and I use a D run a lot. And I'm going to show you today how to find those notes using your simple scales that you know. So you know your pentatonic scale. That's my G major pentatonic scale. Starting on the G note, and I'm playing pentatonic pattern 3 from the closed position. If you're playing it up here, it's that 1 skip, then 2 skip a fret, skip a fret, skip a fret, skip 2 frets, skip 2 frets. That A minor pentatonic scale everybody learns as a beginner guitarist. I'm sliding that down. I'm starting on the root, and that becomes my G major pentatonic scale. So my G run is based out of this scale, and I'm adding a blue note, which is the flat third right there. So if you know the blues scale, you know you got your root, you got your 2, your flat 3, your 3, your 5, your 6, your 1. That's your blues scale. It's based off the major pentatonic scale with the third added. So the G run is that right there. And I would recommend, even though I'm going to show you hammer-on pull-off options, I would recommend every G run that you are learning, that you learn it with alternate picking. So and then another thing that I would recommend you start doing at the beginning is playing that last note with a rest stroke. And I'm resting on that bottom. So that last note, that G, is really emphatic. I've been playing it like this, where I come out and escape the string. It sounds thin when I compare it with other guitarists who have mastered that really hard down, that rest stroke, resting on that B string below it. So I would recommend you practice it like that, and using alternate picking and using rest stroke at the end, or any consecutive down strokes using rest strokes. And that could be I'm using a pull off, and it sounds so much better than I got that really nice solid rest stroke at the end. So I'm gonna share my screen, and I'm gonna show you some options for G runs, and I'm gonna show you, while I'm showing you these options, I'm gonna show you how I practice them. So let me go down here to share screen. And I want to share side by side. And let's see if this works. That didn't work. All right. Dan, I don't know why I always have trouble with this. I'm going to go here.
There you go.
And I'm going to go here.
There you are.
There's my G runs. All right. Now you can't see me, right?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay.
You're all good.
All right. Okay. So we've got these are the tabs of G runs, and Dan will put it on the event.
Oh yeah,
at the end. And so the first G run is a simple G run that you can use at the end of a verse, at the end of a chorus, in the middle of a verse when you go back to the one chord. And it's just a simple. So I got a boom, chukka. Then I'm getting ready. I'm going right to my next my boom chukka, but I'm just going to do a. I'm just going to stop there instead of playing my chukka, and I'm just going to walk up my scale and play that open G note. So 9-pound hammer. Let's see. Oh, the 9-pound hammer is a little too heavy for my side. For my side. Roll on, buddy. So it's just a simple, quick filler G run that you could throw in. And when you're not singing, you could start to get a little more complicated and you could start doing some other things. So this is how I would practice it. This G run right here. I would just strum. And this is where understanding your count becomes important, because there's a pause so that you make sure that when you come back in on your down strum, on your downbeat, that you're on the 1. Because if you come in and you're on the 2 or you're on the 3 or you're on the 4, you're going to be off with the bass player. So if your bass player is like doom, 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 boom, boom, and you're off, it's just going to be a whole mess of awkward. So get used to counting what's playing here. So if you could see there, I got a boom, chukka, rest, and then I'm back to my, because I still have if I'm counting quarter notes, I still have 3 notes, three beats that I have to wait before I come back in on that downbeat. Does that make sense to everybody? No questions? All right. So the next one would be that same G run, but I'm going to use a pull off. This is getting closer to the traditional standard you hear on the G run. So instead of two quarter notes, I have a quarter note, and then I have an 8th note with a pull off. And that's where I can set up for my rest stroke. There's my 1. I'm right back on my 1. All right. Questions on the G run with the pull off. So the next G run is a little bit of a walk up. So that walk up it's getting closer to that traditional G run. You're going to hear the traditional G run in a minute. These 3 that I played right now are straight up pentatonic scale, G major pentatonic scale. No added notes. There's no flatted third. The next G run with the slide up has that flatted third atom. And these are quarter notes. And you could, I said at the beginning that I would recommend you practice these with alternate picking. So a good way to do that would be, oh, there it is. So I got to, when I'm practicing this with alternate strokes, when I play my 2 with a down, I got to cross the string to play that D note with an upstroke before I can hit that final G note with a downstroke and a rest stroke. So I got a down, down, up, down, up, down, up, rest stroke. Make sense? And it's real important that you get the concept of your downstrokes are going to be on the number. Your upstrokes are going to be on the ands when you're playing in 8th notes. When you're playing in 16th notes, they're still going to end up that way, but your upstrokes are going to end up being played on E's, if that makes any sense. Everything that I've written out in 8th notes. I find it easier to learn in 8th notes than it is to learn in 16th notes. 16th notes makes everything feel real fast. And the only thing you have to do is to be able to play the 8th notes. You just have to be able to play it a little bit faster, and it'll still sound, it'll sound like you're playing in 16th notes. So the walk up, and now we got the G run slide. And I recommend you play that with the alternate picking. And once you have that down and it makes sense to you, you can add the slide without the alternate picking. But you still have to remember that D note has to be played with an upstroke. So you can't, when you add that slide, that next note has to be an upstroke. Because if you play that slide and you count that, you don't count that as your downstroke, you're going to be backwards and you're going to end your G run on an upstroke, which is going to confuse all of the rest of your strumming, and it's going to bring you into the next measure on the wrong beat. I guarantee you that's going to happen. So get used to ending your G run on a downstroke. If you watch my hand, I'm going to do the slide. If everybody could see my hand, watch my picking hand here.
Can't see your hand, Dan.
Oh, you can't? Let me see if I can. I'm gonna unshare for a second. So when I did my, see what I'm doing there? That ghost stroke. And I got that ghost. There's my ghost down, my up, and then my downstroke on my G. So you want to be able to have that counting and knowing what stroke you're playing. And if you do slides or you do hammer-ons, you want to make sure that those slides or those hammer-ons count as a stroke. So if you are sliding on an upstroke, you count that upstroke, and your next stroke has to be a downstroke. If you're sliding on a downstroke, you count that slide as your upstroke, and your next stroke has to be a downstroke. Does that make sense? Everybody got that? All right. Let's go back to sharing this screen. And see the G runs again? All right. Perfect.
All good.
All right. So we just did the G run slide up, and this is a variation of the slide up. And all I'm doing is I'm starting my first note of that quarter note run to the slide up with an open D, so it sounds like this. So it's got a little bit different sound versus. Does that make sense? This is a little more difficult because it's adding almost a cross-picking element. I'm going from my 1 at the top, that G note, and I'm after my strumma, I'm skipping and going to the D string with a downstroke, and then I'm coming back up to my A string for the slide up with an upstroke and a ghost down, and then a up on my D string, and then a down on my G string. So those are the 3 simple variations. The rest of these are going to get a little more complicated. We're going to get a little bluesy, and then we're going to get a triplet. The triplet is really fun. I really like it. I can't do it fast yet, but I work on this one. Probably of all the G runs that I work on this one the most. And then a syncopated G run is one that I really like as well. So we're going to go to the bluesy. It's a. So I'm sliding from my 1, and I'm sliding up to, that would be a 4. And Del McCoury is really famous for using that 4 as opposed to the 3 and the flat 3. And it just gives it a little bit different sound. And if that's what you're looking for, realize that's an option. It's outside of the pentatonic scale because we're putting the 4 in there, but it's still giving you, and we're putting a flat 7 in there as well. That third fret of the D string is the flat 7 because F sharp would be the 7. That F is a flat 7. So that's where that bluesy tone is coming from. And it's also a quarter note. So I'm sliding up from the 1 to the 3rd fret, and then I'm just dropping my index finger down and doing 2 downstrokes. And why am I doing 2 downstrokes from that 3 to from that 3rd fret, that F to the G? Can anybody tell me why I'm doing 2 downstrokes? This is extra credit right here. Nobody? They're quarter notes. There's no upstroke. There's no and. So it's 1 and 1 and 2, 3, 4. So that 1 and 2. There's my and 3, 4. So there's no upstroke because there's no 8th note. I hope that opens up some eyes. All right, so the triplet. The triplet is really fun. And you could do the triplet using the flat 7, or you can use the triplet using just a straight up your G pentatonic. And so all I'm doing is 1 and 1, and then a triplet. So that triplet is probably the toughest one. And the best way to practice that would be to start at your 2nd fret of your A string. Triplet. So I'm starting that on an upstroke. So if you go to your 2, your 2nd fret of your A string, and you put your finger on there and you play an upstroke and count out triplet, and then play your down, your rest stroke on your G. And that's got to start with an upstroke. triplet, triplet. And then you go back and add that in. And because I'm doing a hammer on, I'm doing 2 upstrokes in a row. So that makes that triplet come in. It allows you to pick up some speed on that. That G run with the triplet is really fun. And but it takes a lot of work to practice that. So get comfortable practicing the G runs that we played before this, and then add that triplet in there. So I'm going to skip the hammer pull. The hammer pull is just a simple. So I'm hammering on, and then I'm dropping down. It's all downstrokes. And that's a great one to use to practice your rest strokes. You could start with a downstroke on your A string with the hammer on 1st fret to 2nd fret with the rest stroke, and then drop your ring or your middle finger down and play 2 downstrokes with rest strokes. Great way to practice the rest stroke. That's why I threw that in there. So now we get to the traditional G run and a syncopated G run. So the traditional G run, there's no strums between. So it's going to look, coming out of the D chord, coming out of the 5. Five. And so to play that through, it's 1, 1, open A, flat third, so down, down, that's a quarter note. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And that should get you to your downstroke, your rest stroke on your G string, your open G string. That's your traditional G run. I would recommend you practice that with all alternate picking. Down, quarter note. Now you start with another down because there's no and in between there. It makes sense to everybody? All right. The syncopated G run. I'm going to make my 3, that open 1, that G, that's going to be my syncopated note. It's going to be an 8th note followed by a quarter note. So I'm coming out of my 5. And that little syncopation. Now you notice there's I've got the flag on there. I don't know if this is right. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. That flag tells me that my next note is going to be an upstroke. Because it's counted as an 8th note, but it's on the beat. So my next, because it's an 8th note on the beat, it's a downstroke. And then my next one, even though it's a quarter note, it's off the beat, so it's going to be an upstroke. So that's where you get that syncopated sound. So down, up, and then I'm starting my. Does that make sense to everybody? Am I correct in my termination there, Paul? All right. So just know that if you start it another way, you're not going to end on your G note on a downstroke. So you want to have down, up, and then I'm finishing with that downstroke. Okay. Any questions on the G runs? This is something you can practice. And if you add this to your, I like to do this for my warm up. I'll just pick up my guitar. I'll put my metronome on 75 beats a minute. And I'll just practice through. I'll go to my 5 chord and I'll come back to my 1 chord. And sometimes I'll walk through all my, my progression, whatever the song is. But I really want to get comfortable with these G runs and having more than just one. So can the G run be useful in soloing? I think it can. I think it can help you understand soloing and where to go from that. So in order to use the G run for soloing, I'm going to come back out of the share real quick. In order to use the G run for soloing, what you need to be able to do is to know how to play these G runs, or these runs, we'll call them, in other key or other chords, out of other chords. So the cool thing about the guitar in the open position is if you drop down a string, there's my C, right? That's a C triad. That's a G triad. That's a C triad. My C chord looks like this. But my top 3 notes are my C triad, or my middle are my triad. So the G run looks exactly the same, or the C run looks exactly the same as the G run, but you have a B string in there. So you're not ending with an open note, you're ending with your finger on the 1st fret, that C note, that octave. And there's your G run or your C run. So you could play all of those examples that I gave you for the G run, you could play those out of the C position. How about the D? Does anybody know what we need to do to make it as a D? Another extra credit question. Anybody?
You start on the D string then, right? Open D?
Okay, so if you start on the open D, then what?
That's a good question. Well, that's too high then.
Okay, check this out. The only thing that's different is that's an E note, right? But those could be part of my D triad, or there's my D triad, but check this out. I'm ending on a D note.
Oh.
So it looks exactly the same as a G run, up a set of strings or down a set of strings, the lower.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have that low, so you don't have the lower octave to start, but you could start it. So how could we use this in a solo? Let's say I got a progression that goes. So I've just played through my progression just using the G run, but that can get kind of boring. So what if we did something like, let's see, So I just walked up the G run and then walked back down it to fill my 2 measures. So there's a really simple progression through a 1-4-5 using nothing but G runs. There's a really cool song David Grisman and Del McCurry played. It's called the G Run Song. And Del plays his famous G run. And David Grisman plays a lot of G run licks on his mandolin through the song. And at the end of every verse, Del plays his famous G run. And it's a really fun song. It's just a little instrumental. But it's any blues player that plays out of the pentatonic position. They're just phrasing. They're coming up with melodies. The same with bluegrass players. It's all about melodies. And so if you go back to some of the other lessons that we did, we had talked about using melodies to come up with a solo in every song. Well, you could take those melodies and you can use these little licks, these G runs. And I think I showed one of Tony Rice's solos. It was he started off with a little melody using a pentatonic scale. And then when he went to a C chord, he played a C run and came right to that 4 chord. And the band comes to the 4 chord when he hits that. And so I've got a C run that I just put in a solo of whatever song I want to play. And so if we're doing a song like the 9-Pound Hammer, if I can remember it. I'm on my 4 chord, and it goes back to my 1 chord. And then when I get to my D chord, I can go. And now I'm back to my G. What did I just play there? It's basically a G run in the opposite direction. There's my 3 to my flat 3, and then back to my. So I'm going to pull up a tab here showing. Somebody had a question in the chat. Let me see here. A whole mess of awkward. Good name for a GV. Was that you, Paul? A whole mess of awkward. I like it. That would be the band I would be in for sure. Okay, so I'm going to pull up another tab here. So G licks. These G licks that I'm going to show you right now, and actually before we go to the G licks, I'm going to go to these. Well, let's do the G licks first because we already talked about the G run licks going through the G, the C, and the D chord. So pentatonic licks. The G run is a pentatonic lick. And these licks that I'm going to show you this, we're going to go to the very bottom here. Everybody can see this bottom one right here, right? This G run extended lick. So if you've been in any of the other lessons that I did, I showed you this extended lick here, this double stop. So if we take away the double stop, and all the double stop is I'm just playing my pentatonic chord, but I'm playing thirds, separating the notes by thirds. This extended G run uses that concept, but I'm using individual notes versus the double stop. So at a little faster tempo, and so anywhere you play around in that pentatonic scale, and when I say the extended scale, does everybody understand what the extended scale of the pentatonic scale is? So we know we got our pentatonic scale here. So if I was playing my A minor pentatonic box, and when I got down here to my, I could slide up, and then I've got this BB box here, which would be the fourth position of the, or it'd be the second pattern, which if we only use the bottom half of that, when I slide up from my, this is my 2, I'm sliding up to my, that would be my 3, and then I've got my 5, and then I'm back to my 3, so we got this. There's my, that bluesy sound. And then my G run. So that extended G run can be used, and I use it a lot. If you go back and you watch any of the lessons that we talked about solos, when I showed finding the melody, you're going to find the melody in these lines. So this minor pentatonic lick, the one at the top, this is a great lick to know. There's the lick. It's called, we call it the lick. This is a Tony Rice lick. There's a minor version of it, and then Doc Watson used a major version of it, the lick. They're nearly identically the same, except one is using the minor pentatonic scale at the beginning, and then at the end, they're all using that pentatonic scale. So the minor lick sounds like this. And when I played that, I showed you that song that we did. That's a variation of the lick. So if you can learn this lick and you can get it down, there is so much you can do with this lick. Listen to Billy Strings, he uses it a lot. Listen to any bluegrass song by the Bluegrass Album Band, you're going to hear this lick. You're going to hear it in this key. You're going to hear it up in closed positions. But it's really going to come down to this lick is the lick. So let's try to play this together and keep your alternate picking. We're not going to do any slides. So what you see as a slide is going to be a down up. You're going to stick to straight alternate picking. We'll go really slow. So it starts on the 4. So 1 and 2 and 3 and so you should have ended with a downstroke, a rest stroke preferably. And we'll go back to the beginning and we'll do it one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and... Sorry about that. Let's go back to the beginning. 1 and 2 and 3 and... Anybody have any questions on that lick? So this lick, because it's minor, can be used in songs that it could be used in. It could be used in a major song. It could be used in a modal sounding song. When I say a modal sounding song, a song that uses the flatted 7 would be what we consider modal. We talked about Old Joe Clark. That was, I think, the very first bluegrass one we did. That song was modal. It used the F in the chord progression out of the key of G. So it gives it not really a minor sound, but a bluesy sound. And if you remember that, it was Old Joe Clark. So it went to that F, and it gives you that modal sound. So this lick can be used for that minor pentatonic sound. There's a Clinch Mountain backstep. I haven't taught this song yet, but I want to one day. It's a modal song, but you can play this song using this lick solely. And the song, it almost sounds like Old Joe Clark, but it has a backstep in it. So it has a weird measure where it gets off by a beat, by a measure. And so, but the song uses this, I use this lick. And so that lick right there was the vast majority of the A part of that song. And everything is played. It's literally the melody of the song. That's the melody. And then a lick. So that is the lick in the minor pentatonic. Now let's take this lick and put it in the major pentatonic. It looks almost exactly the same, except instead of going from the flat third up, we're going from the flat third down. There's where it differs. That first part, measure and a half, is where it differs. And then when we get down to the second half of this measure that we're in, the second measure, it's exactly the same. Does that make sense? So if you learn the back half of this lick, you've only got a measure and a half to learn to play both licks. So it sounds like this. One more time. So let's play that together. We'll play it a little slower. And this starts the same way on 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and... Everybody, does that make sense, Kurt? You get through that? Did you end on a downstroke? If you're not ending on a downstroke, really break this lick down. Use this tab once Dan posts it. Use this tab to really break this lick down and get that down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. Oh man, I messed up. Down, up, 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 down, That's really hard to do. But if you can go through that and you can get those pick strokes down, this is a great warm up for playing guitar. If you pick this up every day and you play these 2 licks and get them down to where you can play them comfortably at 75, 80 beats a minute, you've got enough ammunition to be able to start playing around with soloing using melody and then throwing portions of this lick in with any song you're playing. And I'm going to show you now. I've got another tab that Dan's going to put up a way to solo. I put up one for G run and one for. So I got licks through the G run. This is using that G C D chord progression. Just going through 1, 4, 5, and it's just a G run. And I think the tab that I have here is a G run, a G run, a C run, a C run, a D run, a D run, a G run, a G run. So we got 2 measures of G run, 2 measures of C run, 2 measures of D run, and 2 measures of G run to finish it off. And so it looks like this. That's all it is. G runs, C runs, D runs. Now I showed before we started the pentatonic licks. You can walk that up and walk it back down. So I'm just going up, and then I'm going back down 1 note. And then I'm right back into my G run. Walking down the G run, walking back up 2 notes, and then doing the G run 1 more time. And you can do that with your C and with your D. Simple ways that you can use what you've learned here to be able to play through a solo. I mean, it might not be the greatest solo, but it gives you the feel of being able to play with somebody in time and play the right notes. So what happens if it's a 1-4, 1-5? Nothing. You just play a G run, a C run, a G run, half of a D run, half of a G run. So I just played this was the progression. That's a standard bluegrass progression that you'll see a lot. I think a couple of the songs we did had that same progression. So does anybody have any questions on what we've covered so far before I get into this last licking the pentatonic scale, or licking the tonics penta style, I guess I tried to call that. So as we found out, you could play a G run in C and you could play it in D. Well, you could do this lick. Sort of in C and D. And that's going to sound like this. And then when we go to the D, I got to play it up here. That is starting to sound more like a solo, but I'm still using a pentatonic lick in G, a pentatonic lick in C, and a pentatonic lick in D. And so in a solo, I'll try to play it a little more like it would sound in a solo. Try this one more time. The pressure. And it's again, a simple lick that you can run through using your pentatonic scale and putting it into a song. So if we were to take this and we were going to do something like the 9-pound hammer, this is kind of a solo that I would do. I didn't tab this out because I don't know how I'm going to play it, but this is kind of what I would do. And I'm using this lick or some form of this lick to play through the 9-pound hammer. Oh, the 9-pound hammer is a little too heavy. It's a 4 for my size. 1, 4, 5 this side. Roll on, buddy. Don't you roll so slow. How can I roll when the wheels won't go? Something like that. And I'm basically running through licks with some melody. I'm just doubling my note there by the octave. Little dissonance there on my C note, on my C chord. Just a little D lick. That little lick that we did with the G run at the end. And then I'm going to play some melody. Roll on, buddy. So
those are great.
And then I'm doing a little bit to fill with some octaves. So did you know what, did you get what I did there? Same notes. I'm just playing it out of a different position. There's my little bit of a C lick. And so I've used my pentatonic scale, these licks that we've learned, and I've applied those into a basic solo, which is where I'm at, a basic solo that's utilizing melody and that's utilizing a little bit of pentatonics. And you could do that with any song. And as we've seen in the previous Blue Ridge Cabin Home, and New River Train out of the C position, using the melody, using a few licks, and you don't need to know a lot of licks. If you can learn these few licks that I've showed you today, and you can figure out where to play them out of different positions, same thing. I'm just playing it out of a different position, and it gives me a little bit different approach. And then a G run. All right. I feel like I've covered a lot of ground, but I hope that I can give you guys something that you can practice and use that information to be able to figure out a song. So we've learned how to play, how to figure out the melody of a song, learn the chords. Once you know the chords, the structure of the chords, the melody is going to be in the scale of the key. That's where your melody is going to be found. And it's either going to start on the 1, the 3, or the 5. These are all things we've covered over the last 6 months. It's going to be in the scale of the key you're in. It's going to be either starting with the 1, the 3, or the 5. And once you work out that melody and you can find it on your guitar neck, you could take the melody that you know, and when you have these pauses, when you think about the song, it's usually the solo is going to be played over the verse. Oh, the 9-pound hammer, space, is a little too heavy, space, for my size, space, for my size. So, da-na-na-da-da, da-na-na-na-na-na-da, na-na-na-na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. That gives you, if you could play that out in your head and then put that on your fingerboard, you're halfway to being able to play a solo. Okay, I think I've covered everything, Dan.
I think you did, dude. I think
a lot of work, a lot of stuff to cover, and I hope I didn't just fill anybody's.
You know, the best thing about being recorded is you have a recording.
Yes.
So everything is on there. I'll keep the channel open after we get done here. So if y'all want to ask some questions and stuff. Paul, do you have anything you wanted to add really quick?
Feel like my bluegrass IQ just went way up.
Yes.
That's good. I hope so.
And I know this is all about bluegrass, but there's a G run that I hear in Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think it's just a reverse of it.
It starts on the chromatic. It starts on the A, B flat. So it kind of starts on the chromatic first.
Yeah.
But soon as you were playing that, it's the third part of the right here. So it starts on the chromatic run, and then goes G and D, and then the root. But I kept hearing that.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's like, you know, it's just the blues scale. It really is. That's you know, when you hear when I was first learning bluegrass guitar, and somebody'd say the G run, I'm like, what's the G run? And then when I finally realized it's just the blues scale, and if you know the blues scale, you can play that G run. You can play it up there. You can play all of your variations using that sliding 3-2 pattern.
All right. So anyway, guys, let me wrap this thing up for today. Thank you all for being a part of This is Bluegrass. Guitar for Vets is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to providing relief to struggling veterans through the healing power of music and community. Since 2007, Guitar for Vets has served at-risk United States veterans impacted by PTSD and other service-related trauma. Through our unique 10-week structured guitar instruction program, putting a healing power of music in the hands of our nation's heroes, helping to foster renewal, connection, and community. On behalf of Danny and myself, be well and keep on strumming, folks.